If you look closely at a drop of pond water, you might spot an amoeba. It's a complete living organism, but it's made of just one single cell. That lone cell has to do absolutely everything: moving, taking in oxygen, eating, and getting rid of waste, all at the same time. Scaling that up creates a massive logistical bottleneck. If a human being or a towering tree were just a giant, unorganized cluster of trillions of independent cells, all trying to feed and move on their own, the organism would collapse under its own energy demands. To build larger bodies, life uses a system of delegation. Instead of every cell doing every job, cells that share a similar structure group together to perform one specific task. These specialized clusters are what we call tissues. By splitting up the workload, having one group of cells handle movement while another handles digestion, these clusters achieve an efficiency that an individual cell can't match. This division of labor at the microscopic level is what makes macroscopic life possible. Once multicellular life solved the scale problem, it split into two very different survival strategies. One group stayed put, and the other started moving. Plants are stationary. Because they don't hunt or hide, their main physical challenge is supporting their own weight against gravity to reach sunlight. To survive, they need massive amounts of upright scaffolding. Much of this rigid support is built out of thick, dead tissue, which provides strength without requiring food or oxygen. Animals, however, search for food, mates, and shelter. This active locomotion requires flexible bodies and constant energy. To sustain that movement, almost all animal tissues must be entirely alive, allowing for continuous repair and rapid response. Whether an organism spends its life anchored in the dirt or sprinting across it, that macroscopic lifestyle dictates its microscopic blueprint. Because plants are anchored in place, their growth is highly restricted. Unlike animals, which generally grow uniformly all over their bodies, plants only grow in very specific, localized regions. These growth zones are packed with meristematic tissue. These are active cells with a single driving purpose: to divide continuously and generate all the new material the plant will ever need. This diagram shows exactly where this dividing tissue lives. At the very top, the apical meristem pushes the stem higher. Along the sides, the lateral meristem increases the girth of the trunk, and near the nodes, the intercalary meristem drives growth outward. But these cells eventually reach a limit. As they grow and mature, they lose their ability to divide. They take on a permanent shape and function, differentiating into permanent tissue to provide bulk and support. A giant redwood tree is built by these tiny clusters of dividing cells at its tips, which push outward, leaving behind a massive, hardened scaffolding. Building a massive, stationary structure creates a new challenge: moving resources across huge distances. A tree needs to move water from deep underground all the way to leaves hundreds of feet in the air without a heart to pump it. This stem cross-section shows the solution. Simple cell types combine into complex, permanent tissues, arranged in distinct vascular bundles. Inside, xylem cells are thick and tubular, transporting water vertically. Beside them, phloem cells form perforated tubes to transport food from the leaves. This specialized plumbing was the specific breakthrough that allowed plants to thrive on dry land, moving resources through rigid structures that can withstand the open air. For animals, rigid walls of dead cells would be a hindrance. A mobile lifestyle demands a completely different cellular approach, one based on flexibility and transport. Every animal needs a border. Epithelial tissue forms a continuous, tightly packed layer of cells that covers the body and lines the internal organs, acting as a protective barrier from the outside world. Beneath those protective linings, animals need a foundation that can bend, stretch, and move materials. This is the role of connective tissue. Connective tissue has a unique architecture. Cells are loosely spaced and suspended within an intercellular matrix. By changing this matrix, the body creates different tools. A flowing liquid matrix forms blood plasma, while a dense, rigid matrix creates the structure of bone. These dynamic matrices provide mobile animals with the internal transport and the flexible support needed for an active life. Support and transport only matter if the animal can move. That capability relies on specialized contractile proteins within muscular tissue, which can forcefully shrink and relax to create movement. This layered cross-section of a stomach shows how muscle fibers stack together. These fibers contract rhythmically to break down and push food through the digestive tract entirely on their own. But muscle fibers need coordination, which they get from nervous tissue. A neuron acts as the signal carrier, using a long axon and branched dendrites to catch and transmit rapid electrical impulses across the body. Without the rapid-fire signals sent through nervous tissue, the physical power of muscle fibers would have no direction, resulting in a collapse of coordination. When you step back from the microscope, the differences between the organisms in our everyday lives become much clearer. Every capability we see in the macroscopic world, from a tree reaching the sun to an animal sprinting for cover, originates in the specific architecture of its cells. A redwood tree stays upright because it builds layers of thick, dead structural cells to hold its weight. A human can think and run because living, branching neurons are sending signals to flexible, contracting muscles. Take a moment to look at your own hand. Every single movement you make is the result of millions of these specialized cells firing in perfect sync. Tissues coordinate the efforts of millions of individual cells, allowing them to function as one cohesive unit. They are the structural foundation that makes complex life possible.